Hi, this is Beatrice with ICC. We're at the letter F. We touched on Elena Ferrante last week, and she's going to bridge us into the F before we move on to a couple of expressions. It feels like not trafficking in real E's and F's because Elena Ferrante is, of course, a pseudonym. Here's the whole tetralogy in case some of you may be nostalgic for it if you've read them. She wrote a new book recently, but I haven't read it yet. So Elena Ferrante is a pseudonym, and there is mystery still around her identity. But the Ferrante fever is perhaps more alive abroad, certainly in the US, than in Italy. And I think it's because sudden success, elusive success, are both questioned and doubted in Italy. There's sort of a automatic doubt about the motivation, or even a kind of sudden lack of pride, a putting down, which is very, I would say that's an Italian phenomenon I have observed very differently from here. There is some discomfort and with success. And there's doubting of the gender in this case, which of course tells a long story about gender dynamics in Italy. There is a concoction concept that Italians are much more comfortable with, which is furbizia. Furbizia holds within itself being clever, intelligent, cunning, deceitful, knowing, having been a kind of someone who knows how to do things. And it's holding the positive and the negative simultaneously, with no contradiction. It's sort of one and the same. And I think I've read many times that this is perhaps true of a country like Italy that's been conquered multiple times from very different parts of the world. And so in a way, there is an appreciation of ways in which you learn to trick systems or the system while pretending to also play along. And that game is not seen as a negative or as an all positive, right? It's a little bit of both. Along the furbizia line comes this expression that's a double F one, that's farla franca. I've always used it. I never knew the origin. Farla franca, so it's farla from the verb fare, which is, by the way, the most used verb. I didn't know this either, after the auxiliary verbs of avere and essere, to have and to be, because fare is to do, but also to make, to obtain, and so on. And then plus franca, which is the feminine from the adjective franc, that I'm probably butchering in French, which means free, also in the sense of free of charge. So not franc, the money, the money in France. No, the idea is, free of charge. And farla franca, the expression came to mean to get away with something scot-free, or to get away with murder, perhaps is a good translation. And it comes from 1322. In June, I Fiorentini, people from Florence, ordinarono una fiera. So they organized this fair, fiera, which is feminine, in Florence, a fair of horses and of all good things, di tutte cose, or of all things, for la festa di San Giovanni, San John's celebration. And this is what it says in Villani, this author from the 14th century, la quale fecero franca a forestieri 8 giorni innanzi alla festa e 8 giorni appresso. So they made this fiera, fair, free of charge to forestieri, people from out of town. Forestieri, another F word that comes from the Latin forest, outside. Problematic also about how we relate to who's not in our circle. But anyway, they sort of made the fair free for 8 days before and 8 days after, a total of a couple of weeks. So when I read it, it felt so deal-like a pass, very contemporary. And so fiera, fair, is feminine, and the theory is that's where the expression farla franca comes from, to obtain something for free and then scot-free, etc. Another quick thing is francobollo, which comes also from franc. And it was invented, the idea of postage in England, not before 1840. Beforehand, postal expenses were paid by the receivers. So I imagine it was not such a thrill to get a letter like it is now. If they're, from, because it's like a collect call. So it's like, oh, a letter. Okay, so I think we're moving on. We'll be on G next week. And G is also a good word for gelato, and we're having a gelato cake workshop. It's sort of how to build your own beautifully decorated, refreshing gelato cake this Saturday. Check it out on Facebook or our website. You'll find all the information. And yeah, it will be as good, very good. Like, see, that's another expression. Buono. When something is so good, you can say, è la fine del mondo, the end of the world. Okay. Ciao. See you next week.